Kyle here from All Media Reviews. Here to do a few reviews of what's going on last week that I talked about. And one of the things that I just did, okay, so I can show a couple things. I finally did get the Monkees from Goldmine. I talked about special Goldmine Special Collector's Edition. I haven't read through it. By the way, R.I.P. Bobby Hart. R.I.P. Rick Davies from Supertramp, but also Bobby Hart, songwriter who Joyce pointed out videos before, co-wrote Last Train to Clarksville and the Monkees theme song, a couple others. Uh, forget which ones, but anyway, I would, Joyce would rattle them off probably more. There was like one of those kind of standard, one of those like lesser standards, but one of their standards he also wrote. But yeah, it's they did a retrospective. I'm sure a lot of Joyce's friends and the Monkees community have been reading through this, but it wasn't at Barnes and Noble though. I had to order it specially. Yeah, Daydream Blue. I think she got all signed by all four. Anyway, and I did order this, and she probably has this, but we have two copies. This was just an issue of Goldmine magazine. That was from 2023, but I don't remember this, but I didn't, and it's not exclusively on the Monkees only. There's other stuff in here. Marshall Crenshaw, I don't know, but it was it was an issue of Goldmine that featured the Monkees. So, I don't know, it's like more the back of it. There's Nesmith right there. Um, so I got that. I don't know. There's too much more stuff I'm expecting. I want to order the John Arch EP on vinyl, but anyway. So I did get a couple things at TJ Maxx, sort of in Joyce's tradition memory. This big, which is like it looks like a study pillow, but did I show this in the last video? Maybe I did. I think I did. I didn't show this. I did get this blanket of sort. It's called like a cloud throw. It's a Hello Kitty, and it's like I wanted to get the Peanuts one. I don't think I had it, but I remember it was jam. I went to look for it at Marshalls. It was like pajamas or it was a blanket. I thought it was a blanket, but the material is really soft, so that's one thing. But yeah, it's Hello Kitty, and I could at least see Joyce having interest in this. I don't know if it would be her first choice, but you know, it is Hello Kitty, so she would probably appreciate a lot of things with it. In fact, her friends, it wasn't this big of a thing, this big of a cloud throw, but it was a style of this. It felt like this that she was actually, buried with and everything. So, um, but it was a different color. It was like orange or something. So, I did go to the MinnAnimate Festival 3 different nights. It was expanded to 3 nights in Minneapolis. And what MinnAnimate is, and here's the T-shirt I got. There's a pin over there that I forgot to get. I got a pin. Maybe I'll show it in another video. But I did get a pass for it, and so I went to all three. But it was interesting. It was different. I don't remember how many times we went. I want to say we first went in 2017. It might have been before that even, but 2017, 2018, we missed 2019 because we were at a Twins game that night. Also, one of Joyce's friends was being honored as Teacher of the Year in Minnesota. But then 2020 was online, so then I think maybe 21, 22, 23, and 24. So I want to say we went seven, at least, let's see here. Yeah, like 7 times at least. And last year, of course, in the last one with Joyce, one of her friends from college also would be there frequently and submit a film of his own, but he wasn't there this year. And the weird thing about that is the guy who ran it obviously had been to previous MinnAnimates festival. And what is MinnAnimate? I didn't even mention that. It's a festival of short animated films made by, I don't know if you call them non-professionals, whatever, just people that like to make animated films. A lot of them are students. It's mostly been students for the history of it, but I want to say it's been more the last few years. But the weird thing is, at least among the actual pass holders that went to like all 3 days, uh, most of them were the filmmakers themselves that did, but most of the people there had never been to. I could be wrong, but I didn't meet too many people that talked about previous festivals. It was weird. Um, but there might have been a few that I just didn't know, but I didn't talk about that. But also my age being quite a bit different. Definitely um yeah, I mean whatever. I'm 49, the people there are mostly college or just out of college animating. A lot of them were in like Minnesota Minneapolis College of Art and Design. That was one of a lot of the people. But there were some people from out of state, like from Wisconsin and um like Illinois and Kansas City and Philadelphia, and Quebec even. But other than like it used to be just on a Thursday night, and there'd be like I don't know, 15 to 20 some odd films. So it's a lot to take in at once, and then they started. Although they used to do 2 hours of it, I remember they'd separate it at one point. But they decided to make it out 3 days now. And the thing about it is, I could try talking about some specific films. I have to admit that they're great, but they're also short films. So they can be maybe a little less memorable than normal feature length. But the last day, like yesterday at Trilon, because they held it at St. Anthony, or now it's down the main cinema. It used to be St. Anthony Main. Thursday and Friday. Friday was late at 9:45, but and they do like a Q and A afterwards with on all the different days. And then Saturday that yesterday they did at the Trilon during the day and then the afternoon. The first part, the 2 o'clock showings, was like 5 or 6 films from the same person, like in their career. Like it was over the span of I don't know, like 6 years or something like that. Her name was I think I want to say this right. Kira Kira Faber, and her husband Ben, I believe, and she's now from Pennsylvania, from Philadelphia, I guess. But she, at least at one time, was in Madison and maybe even here, in the Twin Cities. But hers were more like, say, not claymation, but like live, like, like like what's the word? Um, stop frame animation, like what's the word? I can't remember it. Like Tool or Michel Gondry, that style of actual objects that are being manipulated as opposed to drawings. I mean, there was a little bit of artwork done in hers, but it was mostly physical objects. Um, Stop play animation. I mean, it's not claymation, but motion capture and whatever. I'm not sure of the term. I'm completely screwed up on that. But yeah, I mean, it kind of reminded me of some of the Tool videos. Even though I'm not really a Tool fan, I know some of their videos. They were on Beavis and everything like that. Um, like their early videos, and then some of the stuff that Michel Gondry did, like in Science of Sleep, and a couple of other movies he did, that Gasoline, something like that, and the one that was the film about the flower with Audrey Tattoo. I'm thinking I shouldn't. I love about Michelle Gondry. I should know the names of something Rose. I forget. Anyway, Michelle Gondry. I think in some of his music videos too have been like that. And then I was actually reminded of the band Mew, which I always think of Science of Sleep and Mew, which turns out the Mew fan base really loves Science of Sleep too. I didn't even realize that for many years, but yeah, she did like she had like dolls and stuff like that, and but it was an interesting evolution between her earliest films from like almost 10 years ago to more recently. But um, so her name is again Kira Faber. And there was like brothers something like that. Brothers brother that who did stop the animation. I forget the name of. They were referencing those two as being the most commercial. Brick Brothers, maybe Brick Brothers, Quay Brothers. No, shoot, it's gonna bug me. I mean, the animation world, stop motion animation. Yeah, Brothers spent 8 years. No, no, that's interesting. I didn't realize that. Um. Anyway, so the last day on yesterday, that's the last part of yesterday. I think some of the best films were that night. Um. And the thing is, I never remember the names. I remember like about the films, but one of the films really stuck with me was this one called Pink Marker by this was woman named Bianca Persichetti Bianca. She's from Wisconsin. I talked to her afterwards. There was like a get together at this art gallery afterwards. I guess she lives in Milwaukee, but the story of it, I mean, it's a short film, but it's about a girl who gets lent a pink marker from a friend of hers, and the two of them connect, and then they end up being sort of romantically involved later, and then eh, they lose touch of each other and they get back together at one point, but then ultimately it doesn't work. But it's sort of a love story, a sad love story that didn't work out, and the loss of someone she loved, or whatever you want to say, the romantic interest, kind of hit home, of course, for me recently with Joyce. But yeah, it captured. I mean, the style of animation on that film was very more like, I don't know, simplistic, but more youthful, I guess you could say. But the narrative really worked with the way she did it. But I really hope she can do more stuff like that because I think it was really well done. Um, and there was another one yesterday that was called again, I'm like terrible. I don't remember the names of these. Um, I don't know if they're like on Vimeo, if like the MinnAnimate site will like host them or something like that, or all people to see them at a later time. I would hope so. But it was called Kobo. I'm sorry. But what was the one? It was Jilly and Juno, and by Casey Blackwood and Alexis Bellotti. I think there were more people involved, but that one story of two girls also, who kind of the younger girl ends up they go on a little adventure at like a little construction area near a beach, and the younger girl ends up going down this tube and finds like this robot, growing plants and everything like that. But there's more to that, but I would say that it definitely had enough from a story and character kind of side where the creators could definitely. And I talked to, I think was her name, which one was it? Was it wasn't which one of them was there? I think it was Casey maybe. Um, I talked to them after the screening and it's like, you guys could do a lot more, I think, with this. And he's like, yeah, we think that we can, and so that might open up to a bigger series. The two characters and their adventures per se, and this whole kind of area of like, you know, sympathetic robots and stuff like that with nature kind of reminded me of the Wild Robot, which they were making this before that movie came out. But you know, yeah, I hope that they can Jilly and Juno. Hope that story can be continued and expanded upon. And the other one yesterday, among many others that I thought were good, but the one that also stood out, I think, was the one. It was called um, Mac and Rico's Pawn Shop by Luke Rupp. He's from Kansas, Kansas City, I believe. And the visual, um, like the clarity and the kind of, I don't know, it looked like something out of Pixar or DreamWorks. It was that well and that clear, and that the resolution. It was an animation about like these two little bugs that have a shop that they're selling like human like items, and I think Joyce would have really liked it. It would have been right up her alley because she loves little cute characters, insects, bugs, that kind of thing would have been be included. And it was very sympathetic, but the style and yeah, I mean, I was giving him a lot of props and everything like that. And the story about they find this key at the very end, the humans in there, and he's trying to swat them away, the two bugs, but two insects, but yeah. So I'll go over that one more time. Mac and Rico's Pawn Shop. That was for the storytelling. Part of it is I appreciate storytelling, and then just storytelling, and I mean the animation's obviously a big part of it and how they're actually put together, and just at heart the storytelling. So I can try to remember some of the other ones from the previous days. I remember like on Friday night, one of the best ones was this one called Boom Dude, whereas this guy who's like this, like he defends the Earth, but he like has a family on Earth. He decides he wants to retire, but like the guy who's with the like the government with the Earth wants to still hang out with him. He doesn't want the job and stuff, but the music was cranked up pretty high. It was very intense. It was almost like a parody kind of thing of like wrestlers or Alex Jones in a way. But I thought it was still it was funny and done well. Oh, I forgot about there was another one last night that the creator wasn't there. The one that was on the corner. Best Damn Street Corner. Oh, that was a terrific little film. I think the Emery Allen might have been there, but I don't remember. But that was telling a story. It's like this is like the Michael Jordan of Street Corner. It's like, was it Michael Jordan when he played baseball? But so I'm jumping around a little bit, but man, there was I remember the Town Without Laws. I remember meeting that creator. The rabbit always dies. That person wasn't there, but I thought that was really well done. It was like talking about rabbits being like pregnated. If I'm not mistaken, if that's the one. Oh man, then on Thursday night, which I had a little snafu with Thursday when I went and parked at the ramp, the power went out on the ramp after that, and people were trying to get out and they weren't able to. Plus the ramp that's been there for years, you can go underneath the tunnel. I couldn't use the tunnel when the power went out. Became like a fenced off thing and like had garage doors and it got owned by another company. You had to pay through a QR code and all this stuff through the website. It wasn't something I wanted to do, but what can you do? But they got it fixed thankfully when I got back, and then so I was able to go home. I was worried I was gonna get stuck in there, and then because I had to walk across the street, which I never had done for San Anthony, Maine. And Friday when I went there, it was fine. It worked, uh, but yeah, this is a lot of talking about little short films people are probably never gonna get a chance to see, but like the ones from Friday, or from Thursday rather. I remember parts of them, but I mean, start taking notes or something like that. Um, Mira and Darian, yeah. Venus Attacks. Venus Attacks was the one with the eels, I think. There's these eels inside like a body of water. It reminded me of, I think that was the one. Maybe not. There was one where they had to kill the eel, and it was like a Ghostbusters, like the Eel Busters or something like that. But Out for Ice Cream, that was a long one. I remember that was the one that was done from Quebec. And it really wasn't about ice cream. It was about two friends that were hanging out the summer before they entered high school on the sort of like on the this like beach area. But I think it might have been in some part of Quebec. But it wasn't like they ate the ice cream, different flavors of ice cream, but it was really more about the sort of what was going to happen in high school. Are we going to still be friends and that kind of thing? But so yeah, that's kind of the thing. You get these little kind of yeah, they're short, so they're not very long narrative stories, but with the animation they can be kind of creative, and some of them have a lot of heart and a lot of like interesting little things to think about, and um I did tear up a few times because I was there with Joyce so many years, and she wasn't there, but a lot of people were there with other people, of course, but I'm glad I went. I would definitely go again. It was, despite the sort of some of the differences or whatever, and I would hope that we'd see some of the same people again. Although the people from out of town, who knows if they'll come back. I did meet some people and friend them on Instagram, and I told them about this YouTube channel and everything. But yeah, that was the gist of it. I can say that I am talking to that girl from Barnes and Noble again, but in fact, we're gonna go to the art park tomorrow in Egan and walk around and stuff like that. There's this art park out there. But I was telling her because she's really into books and stuff like that, and she's the one who's going to St. Kate's, but I was just telling her how I might start to read more, ironically or oddly enough, and I may not watch as much television and movies. I mean, I still probably watch television and movies, and even music, but I don't know. I think I have room to sort of try to increase my intake of literature or reading. I don't know if it's ever going to be my number one thing, but like Snow Crash, I have the book and I've never read it. And actually, aunts put up my aunt and my uncle rather. Finally, this was supposed to be for our vinyl, but it's going to be probably for books. It's supposed to go in the record room, the music room upstairs, but this big shelf. I'll try to turn this around and show it really briefly. You can see that thing right there, that big black shelf. So, but oddly enough, it's probably going to be used for uh, a lot of books. I don't know. We'll see. I don't even have like I said, I don't even have a TV in this room anymore. I watch on my computer and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm going to see Steven Wilson on Tuesday, and going to see a nutritionist. So I'm doing a lot of stuff. Nutritionist on Wednesday, just because, of course, Joyce made most of the food, and I'm sitting here now trying to figure out what I'm going to eat for dinner every night. And it's I need to be able to make the food. I've made some stuff. I made these trip tips. They're like steak kind of thing, but they're actually packaged from one of our local grocery stores, Lund's. But you do put them on a pan and stuff like that. And I made corn on the cob and some other stuff, but I just need to figure out time and what's best. I mean, recreating Joyce's recipes is some of them maybe, some of them are I don't know if I'm ever gonna have. It's kind of getting to me a little bit. That's sad that I'm not gonna have again, and nobody will ever have again. Um, but yeah, and then I think next weekend I might go out to Renfest, and the Arboretum again. There was something at the Arboretum this past weekend that was like a golden pumpkin thing, but it was like 90 degrees today. So, um, but no, I mean, I don't know. It's a process. I mean, talking to my cousin Robin, in France again this morning was encouraging. But it's you know this whole thing is just a completely foreign thing to me and anyone that just has to go through grief. Um, Try to live with it and try to figure out how to um, deal with it. I mean, I'm not like I'm going through this nonstop, you know, phases of being depressed and missing her, thinking about missing her for things, but it doesn't take a lot. Um, and I've been talking to other people in grief groups, this grief group that I'm in that are struggling to even come to tears, which is just, you know, unfortunate um, but I don't know. It's like on Friday night when I was driving home from MinnAnimate, Toy Matinees, Jenny Ledge got played on KFAI. And then right after, I was just thinking about it's like, I can't believe we just played that. Like, I never hear anything Kevin Gilbert. I mean, Ron Gerber from Crap from the Past has played Kevin many times, and Toy Matinee specifically. I don't think he's played a lot of his other music. A little bit, maybe. He played something off the thought once or twice. Um, Actually, he should probably play Giraffe. Probably enjoy some of Giraffe if he hasn't, but he'd have to buy those. But then I thought it's like, what the hell is he playing, Jenny Ledge for? And then I was like, this would be for Joyce if he like played the Cardigans. I literally said that. I mean, and what did he do? Like 2 songs later, he played the Cardigans. Um, Now as it turns out, Jenny Ledge, Ballad Jenny Ledge, and one of not the biggest, but one of the biggest hits that the Cardigans had were on some sort of compilation that he had. So I mean, it's not that weird because that same era the Cardigans came out and everything like that. But Joyce loved was a big Cardigans fan. But some guy and sitting on the other night was telling me it's not so much that it's coincidence; it's that you're just more like in tune. Your senses are more in tune to some of this stuff. If this stuff keeps on happening, I don't know. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna believe it. This meeting these different people. I'm just trying to do my best. I'm trying to live like this and try to figure out why this happened and how to live with it. Um, yeah, I went to the cardiologist and he didn't say that there's anything wrong with my heart. So, um, but they're like, some of the therapists are like, it's just not that long. People you read about, people go months, if not years, and I think, why am I meeting people and talking to people and doing all this stuff? Um, People like they're in go through this, they don't really do much. They just stay home. Maybe they work like I am, but they struggle like just to get out of bed or something like that. But it doesn't mean I didn't love her. Try not to think anymore. I am going to say that. That's why I'm in therapy, I guess. I don't know. I guess it gets easier. Like all this channel is just me like weeping to the camera. I'm sorry. Thanks for watching. See you next time.